Let me tell you something Warren Buffett understood long before the world ever knew his name. Something so simple most people roll their eyes at it, yet so powerful it quietly shapes every fortune that lasts. Your entire life changes the moment you stop chasing everything and start living by a few non-negotiable rules. Not dreams, not ambitions, not wishes, rules. Buffett built one of the biggest fortunes in human history, not because he worked the hardest, not because he was the smartest, and certainly not because he stumbled across luck, but because he treated his decisions like seeds, small, deliberate, protected, and allowed to grow without interruption. His entire life is a monument to a handful of principles followed with almost religious consistency. And if you adopt those same principles, your life will change in ways you cannot yet imagine. The world today glorifies speed, noise, flash, and complexity. Warren Buffett glorifies patience, silence, simplicity, and clarity. Most people ignore that contrast because they believe success must be complicated, dramatic, or extreme. Buffett knows otherwise. He knows the real enemy of success isn't failure, it is distraction. It is the slow drip of wasted time, wasted attention, and wasted energy. And that is why his rules seem so simple. Simple things are easier to follow forever, and forever is where compounding happens. The first rule Warren follows, the rule that underpins everything else, is what he famously calls rule number 1. Never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. But people misunderstand this completely. They think it means never take risks. No, it means don't take stupid risks. Don't gamble your future. Don't mortgage your peace. Don't sacrifice stability for temporary pleasure. Don't drown in debt to impress people who don't care about you. Don't be careless with your time, your habits, your reputation, or your character. Losing money is not only financial, it is emotional, mental, and spiritual. You lose money when you chase ego. You lose money when you chase shortcuts. You lose money when you chase approval. And you lose money when you chase things that distract you from your long-term path. Buffett avoids loss because he avoids stupidity, and you would be shocked how far avoiding stupidity can take you. His second rule is the rule of compounding, a force so powerful he calls it the eighth wonder of the world. The problem is that most people want compounding without the patience required to earn it. They want results today from habits they started yesterday. But compounding doesn't reward intensity. It rewards consistency. It rewards the person who shows up, even when no one notices. It rewards the tiny daily decisions that feel insignificant in the moment, but become monumental over decades. Compounding works in your favor when your habits align with your goals. It works against you when they don't. And the painful truth is that everything compounds your spending.
Your procrastination, your laziness, your excuses, your stress, and your bad habits. Wealthy people understand this. Poor people don't. Wealthy people ask, what is this habit becoming? Poor people ask, what does this feel like right now? That single difference separates those who drift through life from those who build one. Buffett's third rule is long-term thinking. Warren doesn't think in days, weeks, or even years. He thinks in decades, in lifetimes. He is not interested in quick wins. He is not seduced by trends. He is not impressed by speed. He is interested only in what endures, people who endure, businesses that endure, habits that endure, relationships that endure. And this long-term lens gives him something priceless: emotional immunity. When everyone else panics, he stays calm. When everyone else chases excitement, he stays patient. When everyone else runs toward noise, he runs toward value. Thinking long-term is a superpower because it removes you from the chaos of the present. Suddenly you stop needing to win today and start positioning yourself to win always. You stop caring what others think, because what they think cannot move the needle of a 50-year plan. You stop making emotional decisions because emotional decisions rarely age well. Time becomes your ally instead of your enemy. Most people age but never compound. Buffett compounds because he thinks far beyond the moment. The next rule is the 525 rule, one of Buffett's most brutally honest philosophies. Write down the 25 things you want in life. Circle the top 5, then avoid the other 20 completely. Not sometimes, completely. Why? Because Buffett understands that the greatest enemy of your goals isn't failure. It is almost important distractions. It asks the things that seem meaningful enough to keep but not meaningful enough to change your life. Those mediocre priorities drain your attention, dilute your effort, scatter your focus, and interrupt compounding. Buffett is ruthless with his focus because he knows that greatness comes from elimination, not addition. Discipline isn't doing everything. Discipline is choosing what matters and discarding the rest. The next rule is the margin of safety, a concept Warren borrowed from his mentor Benjamin Graham, but expanded into a full life philosophy. In investing, it means buying a dollar for 50 cents. In life, it means protecting yourself from the unexpected. It means living below your means so you can survive storms. It means saving more than feels comfortable. It means leaving room for error because error is guaranteed. Most people live one mistake away from collapse, one job loss away from panic, one bill away from stress, one surprise away from disaster. Buffett never puts himself in that position. His life is built with buffers, financial buffers, emotional buffers, time buffers. That is why he does not panic. That is why he does not rush. That is why he does not collapse when others do. A margin of safety is the difference between a peaceful life and a fragile one. And then there is Buffett's rule of environment. Choose who you allow into your life with the same care you choose what you invest in. Buffett always says that the fastest way to improve your life is to surround yourself with people better than you. People with discipline, people with clarity, people with humility, people with purpose, people who think long term, people who are not impressed by noise. The wrong environment corrupts your habits, poisons your thinking, drains your energy, and distracts you from your potential. The right environment elevates you. Warren became Warren not because he was destined to succeed, but because he carefully curated his environment, his friends, his mentors, his routines, his inputs. Most people underestimate how much environment shapes them. Buffett builds his environment with intention, not accident. Another rule Warren lives by is emotional control. He believes that temperament matters more than intelligence. Anyone can compute numbers. Only a few can stay calm when the numbers change. Emotional discipline is Buffett's hidden weapon because it allows him to think clearly when others can tee. Emotional decisions create financial disasters. Emotional reactions destroy long-term plans. Emotional impulses ruin habits that took years to build. Warren is wealthy because he mastered himself before he mastered money. He learned to think independently of the crowd. He learned to separate emotion from judgment. He learned to act based on value, not noise. And then there is perhaps Buffett's most overlooked rule: live simply. Warren could buy anything he wants. Instead, he lives in the same modest house, drives simple cars, and avoids unnecessary complexity. Simplicity isn't poverty, it's clarity. Simplicity protects focus. Simplicity protects time. Simplicity protects freedom. Most people complicate their lives with wants disguised as needs. Buffett strips away everything that doesn't matter. And because his life is simple, his mind stays sharp. The final rule that ties all the others together is this: your life becomes whatever you allow to compound. Your habits, your choices, your relationships, your knowledge, your discipline, your weaknesses, everything grows when repeated. The question is, what are you compounding? Most people compound distraction. Warren compounds clarity. Most people compound stress. Warren compounds patience. Most people compound consumption. Warren compounds value. Most people compound noise. Warren compounds wisdom. That's why he is who he is. You don't need his wealth to follow his rules. You only need the willingness to adopt the logic behind them. Because these rules aren't designed for billionaires. They are designed for ordinary people who want extraordinary lives through ordinary daily habits. Buffett's rules don't promise speed. They promise permanence, they promise stability, they promise direction, they promise peace. If you follow them long enough, you want to just make more money. You will become a different kind of person entirely. The kind who acts with clarity, thinks with patience, lives with discipline, and moves through the world with quiet confidence. Because the Warren Buffett rule that changes your whole life isn't T1 rule at all. It asks the realization that life rewards the calm, the patient, the consistent, the focused, and the disciplined far more than it rewards the frantic, the emotional, the impulsive, or the distracted. And once you understand that, everything about your life begins to change, not instantly, but inevitably. The truth is that the Warren Buffett rule that can change your whole life is not a single insight, but a philosophy made of small, durable ideas that quietly reshape your behavior, your decisions, and your future. And the reason these rules are life-changing is because they force you to confront something difficult. That your life today is simply the compounded result of choices repeated over years, and that changing your life means changing the underlying pattern that governs those choices. Most people believe they need a miracle, a breakthrough, a lucky break, a dramatic transformation. But Buffett knows the opposite is true. You do not need more intensity, more effort, or more ambition. You need patience, discipline, and the humility to repeat boring things that work. That is why his rules look unimpressive to the average person. They seem too slow, too simple, too calm for a world addicted to speed. The average person wants fireworks. Buffett wants a steady candle that never goes out. The average person wants shortcuts. Buffett wants habits he can repeat forever. And that is the real secret. Anyone can improve for a day, but almost nobody can improve for a decade. Buffett builds everything around consistency because consistency compounds, and compounding is where the magic happens. But you cannot compound if your emotions are constantly hijacking your decisions. So one of the most powerful rules Buffett lives by is emotional neutrality, the mindset that refuses to be controlled by fear, envy, greed, panic, or impatience. He often says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient, but this applies to life as well. Life transfers opportunity from the emotional to the rational, from the impulsive to the consistent, from the distracted to the focused. When you master your inner world, your outer world becomes predictable. But when you are ruled by impulses, every small event becomes a crisis. Emotional discipline is not about suppressing feelings. It is about not letting temporary feelings cause permanent damage. When someone cuts you off, when someone gets ahead of you, when someone earns more than you, when markets drop, when circumstances shift, Buffett remains level. He acts from reason, not reaction. And that is why his results are steady, while others rise and fall in chaos. Another rule Buffett follows is radical simplicity. He avoids complexity not because he cannot understand it, but because he knows complexity hides risk. Simple systems fail slowly, complex systems fail suddenly, simple habits are repeatable, complex habits collapse under pressure. Simple lives are peaceful, complex lives are chaotic. Warren-esque life looks almost boring from the outside. Same house, same city, same routines, same company for decades, but from the inside, that simplicity creates extraordinary clarity. Most people drown in decision fatigue. They clog their life with commitments, subscriptions, obligations, impulses, and noise. Buffett removes everything that doesn't serve his long-term mission. His simplicity is intentional. It frees mental bandwidth for what matters most. If you simplify your life the way Buffett does, you would be shocked at how much your mind calms down, how much time appears, how much stress evaporates, and how much clarity returns. That clarity is what allows the next rule to function properly, the rule of opportunity cost. Warren evaluates every choice, not by whether it is good, but by whether it is better than the alternative. Every dollar you spend cannot be invested. Every hour you waste cannot be reclaimed. Every distraction you entertain steals focus from something that matters. Buffett is acutely aware that time is finite, attention is finite, and opportunity is finite. This makes him treat every decision as an investment of time, energy, capital, or reputation. The average person asks, "Can I afford this?" Buffett asks, "Is this the best use of my resources?" That difference compounds into drastically different lives over time. Poor people treat time like it is infinite and money like it is scarce. Wealthy people treat time like it is scarce and money like it is infinite when invested properly. And this leads directly to another Buffett principle: say no far more often than you say yes. Warren says, the difference between successful people and really successful people is that really successful people say no to almost everything. Buffett knows that saying yes to the wrong things destroys focus, destroys compounding, and destroys direction. Most people say yes to avoid discomfort, yes to invitations, yes to distractions, yes to obligations, yes to people who drain them. Buffett says no to protect his time, his clarity, and his mission. The average person's schedule is filled by other people. Buffett's schedule is filled only by what moves him forward. And once you start saying no, like Buffett does, your life will suddenly align with your priorities, rather than being pulled apart by the priorities of others. Another cornerstone of his philosophy is the idea that reputation is more valuable than money. Buffett famously said, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." This is not just business wisdom, it is a rule for living. Warren avoids people who lie, cheat, exaggerate, or break trust because he knows that trusting the wrong person can destroy decades of progress. He protects his integrity because he knows that your name travels faster than your work. And once tarnished, it never fully recovers. If you adopt this rule, you start treating your promises with seriousness, your words with care, and your associations with discernment. You start thinking long term about the kind of person you want to be known as, because reputation compounds the same way money does. Buffett does not need marketing because his reputation is his marketing. And that leads into the next principle: surround yourself with the right people. Warren chooses friends and partners who are rational, ethical, calm, intelligent, and independent thinkers. He avoids drama, ego, conflict, jealousy, and people who confuse activity with progress. He knows that environment is destiny. You rise or fall to the expectations of the people around you. The wrong environment poisons habits, delays progress, and encourages mediocrity. The right environment inspires discipline, clarity, and ambition. Buffett surrounds himself with people who make better decisions than he does, people who think clearly and act consistently, because he knows you become whoever you spend your time with. If your environment is weak, your discipline will be weak. If your environment is average, your results will be average. If your environment is focused, calm, and forward thinking, your results will reflect that. Another rule Buffett follows is continuous learning. He reads for hours every day because he knows the mind compounds like money, knowledge builds on itself, wisdom builds on experience, and perspective expands with time. Most people stop learning when school ends. Buffett never stopped. He understands that the world constantly changes, and without constant learning, you fall behind without even noticing. Reading is his advantage, not because it makes him smarter, but because it makes him wiser. It helps him make better decisions, avoid predictable mistakes, and see what others miss. If you want to apply this rule, start by feeding your mind every day. Even 10 minutes compounds. Buffett's entire worldview comes from lifelong learning, and the gap between a learning mind and a stagnant mind widens with time until their lives barely resemble each other. But perhaps the deepest Buffett principle is this: build a life you don't need to escape from. Warren works because he loves what he does. He invests because it fascinates him. He spends time with people he genuinely enjoys. His life is designed around alignment, not escape. Most people design a life that exhausts them and then spend money trying to escape from the life they created. Buffett avoids that trap. He designs his life around peace, clarity, and purpose. If you follow this rule, your wealth will feel meaningful instead of empty, because wealth without alignment is misery, and alignment without wealth is struggle. But when alignment meets compounded
habits, compounded discipline, and compounded clarity life becomes something extraordinarily rare, peaceful progress. When you look at the entire philosophy together, never lose money. Let compounding work. Think long-term, eliminate distractions, maintain a margin of safety, curate your environment, control your emotions, simplify ruthlessly, guard your time, protect your reputation, choose wisely, read constantly, and build a life aligned with your nature. You begin to understand the real Warren Buffett rule that can change your whole life. Small, rational decisions repeated consistently will always outperform big emotional decisions repeated occasionally. Your life does not change when you try harder. It changes when you change your default settings. Buffett's rules are about replacing emotional defaults with rational ones, replacing impulse with intention, replacing chaos with clarity, replacing noise with wisdom, replacing reaction with patience, replacing complexity with simplicity, replacing speed with endurance, replacing hype with principles, replacing ego with humility, replacing force with compounding. And when you live this way, quietly, consistently, unapologetically, your entire life begins to shift. You stop rushing, you stop panicking, you stop comparing, you stop chasing, you stop wasting, you stop sinking. Instead, you start compounding, you start simplifying, you start focusing, you start understanding, you start progressing, and you start feeling something wealthier than money itself: control. Because the Warren Buffett rule that changes your whole life is this: your future is built by the habits you are compounding right now, whether you realize it or not. If you choose Buffett-esque habits, you inherit Buffett-esque outcomes: peace, clarity, stability, and a life that grows stronger every year.